Lucy. Hi, Rob. Rob, a bit of a crunch time for you guys, the World Cup now, two big games lined up. How much of the mental aspect comes into facing the Black Caps on Wednesday, seeing that the record is not that great against them at a World Cup?
Um, yeah, I suppose we will best endeavour just to keep following the process that's got us to this point, really. For us, we see it as a really cool opportunity over the next two games to play, the other two top sides in the competition so far. Continue to put our game against theirs and see how it stacks up. We've played some really good cricket so far. You could argue against lesser competition if you wanted to, based on the log positions. But in our mind, it's really about seeing if we can continue to replicate the way we've been playing against New Zealand next, and then India to follow.
Thanks, Morgan. We're going to go tennis, then Hines.
How's it, Rob? Just two quick questions from me, if I may. The first one's just what did you guys make of the box? Were you guys watching how were the nerves this time around, and maybe just a message to them, and then also maybe what you guys can take from that? And secondly, just quickly, your experience as a coach in New Zealand. Does that count for anything when you come up against them on the international stage?
Okay, to the first question, yeah, we were all together for the game. The boys love their rugby, so it was awesome to share that moment and experience together. I think it's all been said before about the Springboks side. They continue to inspire and give hope. Certainly to us as a team, they do exactly that. To see what they've done and the levels that they've reached is just an inspiration for us as a team, really. And to the second question, obviously conditions are very different here than they are to New Zealand. I think Ken looks like he's more in New Zealand with that beanie on. Certainly we haven't seen a beanie for the last 6 weeks, but I guess there's some local knowledge in terms of their players, and I've worked with a fair number of them and played against pretty much every one of them. So, quality cricketers stay quality cricketers. If it was just as easy as doing your scouting or your prep against them, and that was the end of it, it would be a pretty easy game. So they've been playing really good cricket. A little bit of inside info on them, and we'll see how that stacks up on the day.
Thanks, tennis. Hines?
How's it, Rob? I know you guys have been, the guys have been saying, that they're not trying to listen to too much outside noise and stuff, but you guys don't feel, particularly after that World Cup win of the Springboks, and the fact that you guys have actually won 5 out of 6, that there's sort of like a sense, that it's over to you guys now to sort of like almost replicate what they've achieved. There's you guys don't feel any increased pressure now, to actually like really make this very good start, truly count?
To be honest, I think winning the World Cup for cricket is as much as now as it was before. I don't think it's become any more because the Boks have won. I think for us it's an inspiration really as to how they won. Hopefully that can be the thing that catalyzes us moving forward even more so than the cricket we've played already. It seems like maybe the media attention will shift to us now. To be honest, we've spoken about it as a team as to what we can take from that, as opposed to how it impacts us from a pressure point of view. Rugby is rugby. They've done very well over a long period of time. They've doubled up on World Cups. We're yet to get over that line. So really trying to take care of our own business and take the learnings and inspiration from the rugby side.
Thanks, Hines. Chad, then Telford.
Thanks, Lucy. Hi, Rob. It is actually 12 degrees in Germany today, so quite a few degrees aside. Just on how we finished the game on Saturday, winning by 1 wicket, sort of can draw similarities to how the Springboks have been winning by 1 point on that side. But how pleased are you, with that mental fortitude shown at the death there by Kesh and Shamal? It's also sort of a box ticked in terms of us not choking at the death there. And then just a status update, secondly, on Quinny and KG was obviously rested in the last game. And any other niggles heading into Wednesday?
On the niggles front, everyone's pretty good to go. We've had a couple of days breather. Obviously, we played 3 games in 6 days, so the guys have had some time off, and we'll fire up again tomorrow. But at this point in time, we've got a full bill of health, which is great. Yeah, I mean, sorry, what was the first question? I've lost my trail of thought.
Ticking the box and showing them mental fortitude.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, as you know, like winning ugly is a thing, right? In the past, maybe we've been guilty of losing those games that we should win. we certainly made tough work of it, a lot tougher than we needed to. However, for me, the most significant part of the win really was that the tail showed the responsibility and the thinking to get us over the line. As I said to the guys after the game, those guys at the tail could easily have just thrown caution to the wind, played some expansive shots, and no one would have really questioned that, given that the expectation is low. But we've invested very much into our tail order batting. We've given them time, knowing that being in this situation is going to happen. It happened and potentially could happen again. So being able to get us over the line is hugely important. I know they take great pride in their batting. As much as Shamo says he's only scored 4 runs this year, he'll tell you that he scored about 100 in the nets. So I'm glad that he was able to score 4 of them for us when it counted. So no, it was a great win. Obviously, it creates a bit of belief in different areas because we've been very strong in other areas of our batting, but creates a little bit of belief as the tail wagged in Dharamshala as well. So if we are called upon again, hopefully they're able to deliver the same result.
Thanks. We're going to go to Telford, then Stu.
Thanks, Mercy. Apologies, I'm in a cafe, so it may be a bit noisy. But I just wondered, those of us here in Proteas, it does seem as if something has shifted in South Africa's relationship with pressure. A few players now have spoken along the lines of they're not scared of pressure anymore. It seems that way anyway. Even us in the Netherlands game where they've competed badly, there was no doom and gloom. It was get on with the next thing. Is it fair to say that South Africa's idea or how they internalize pressure has improved, has changed?
It's a tough question to answer. I think you will probably get more and more insight as to where we stand with that as the competition progresses. But just to your point, I thought the way the guys bounced back after the disappointment of the Dutch game was awesome. I don't think we could have played a better game of cricket following a defeat. But as you said, for me, the language in the team was positive. The way we went about our prep was outstanding. So there was a really great lens to the loss. We actually had some great conversations on the back of the loss that I think carried us forward. And then, the result could have been different, and then would we have been having a different conversation, and LBW went our way, one went against us. But we got over the line. I think for me, as I said, the most important thing was, and heartening thing was to see how some of the guys played under pressure, and that we managed to find a way to get over the line. So I would suspect that they will be tested a number of times again in however many games we've got left in this competition. And if we manage to do it again and again, I think we will start to accept that we were getting better at winning key moments in pressurized games.
Thanks, Telford. Stu, then Ken.
Thanks, Lucy. Hi, Rob. Sort of a double question here. How much do you know about Rachin Ravindra, who's really sort of lit up this tournament? Give us a bit of insight into what kind of player he's like, and also just more broadly on New Zealand as well. I mean, they've got a handful of stars, but they always seem to be a team that's like the sum of all their parts. Just some of that sort of culture and what it is that you guys will be up against, given that background.
I've played against Rachin for 7 years, or maybe a little less. He's not that old. So the last 5 years. And then took the New Zealand A side to India last year, roughly the same sort of time. So, and Rachin was on that tour. So I know Rachin pretty well. Look, he's a guy that works hard on his game, probably harder than a lot of young cricketers that I know. loves the game, fully invested in the game. So to be honest with you, I'm not very surprised to see the results that he's delivered in this World Cup. He's worked exceptionally hard just to get a chance. I think that's probably the strength of the New Zealand side is it's not easy to get a game. It's not easy to get into a World Cup squad. So he's someone who's worked pretty hard to get there. In terms of their makeup as a side, I think that the New Zealand side have gone beyond the times where people couldn't understand how they achieved the results that they achieved. I think they're a very good side now. Don't see many holes in their makeup. A lot of depth in different positions. For the most part, highly experienced cricketers that have played a lot and achieved a lot. Played in a lot of World Cup finals across different formats, and so they understand how to win games of cricket. That's what makes them a quality team, and you don't just get to finals and semi-finals of competitions. I don't know how many tournaments it is consecutively now that they've done that without doing something right and without playing good cricket. So, as I said, what a cool opportunity for us to go and play against them in the next game, given where the competition's at, and play a really hard-fought game of cricket.
Thanks, Stu. Ken, then we're going to go the last couple, 3 questions after that. So, Ken, go ahead.
Thanks, Lucy. How's it, Rob? Congrats on the campaign so far. Just on the Pakistan game, and just following up from what you said about the tail and how they could have maybe thrown caution to the wind at the end there. Just before that came about, I think the required run rate was always, under control, fairly comfortable for you guys. Was the team a bit unhappy that in that period there were expansive shots, or was it a case of backing the way that you've played the whole time, and sometimes it's not going to come off, sometimes those sort of risky options don't come off?
Look, I think you can't celebrate scoring 400 and playing that way and then bemoan guys making errors in an attempt to maintain the way we play the game. I mean, that said, I don't think there's one batter that I've spoken to that hasn't sort of critically analysed his dismissal or his performance and seek to be better. So for us, it's just continually speaking about the options that we're taking. Are they the right options given the conditions? There's an element of where the game's at that feeds into your options that you take. A batsman hardly ever gets out and walks off thinking like there was nothing he could have done. Very seldom does the dismissal fit into the bowler skills box, and maybe that's got a lot to do with batters' egos, but they generally think they could have been better or done better, and I don't think we're any different in this instance. So we keep asking the questions, were there other options that we could have taken in that situation given those conditions? Could we have done it better? The answer is obviously yes on a number of those counts. But again, if we're going to climb on top of Heinrich Klaasen for playing an aggressive shot, then we can't celebrate when he scores 170 or 80 balls or whatever it is, because that's the method that he's used. What we want him to do is just continually assess where he's at, where the conditions are at, who he's competing against, and looking to take the best option in front of him, And we're not robots, so we are going to get that wrong from time to time.
Thanks, Ken. We're going to go last 3, starting with Zahir, followed by Neil, and then back with Firdous.
How's it, Rob? Just basically a follow-up on Stuart's question. Having been in New Zealand and seen the way they go about their business, you mentioned that they experience, but they do find often an unheralded individual who just puts his hand up. You look at Nabi, haven't batted at 3 before he comes in. He has a World Cup like he has. Jimmy Neesham doesn't play a couple of games. He gets close to a match-winning 70. Just what is the psyche within that New Zealand domestic setup, within their Black Cap squad, that they seem to find, or Dale Mitchell, for example, as well, guys who just put their hands up when the pressure's at its fiercest?
I think and maybe not so much in the case of Rachin, but if you look at a guy like Daryl Mitchell, the strength of their setup, I think, is that the guys have to play a lot of cricket domestically before they do eventually get a shot at international, and Daryl's a great example of that. I played against him from my year one in New Zealand. Yet it's only in the last 2 years where he's become an unbelievable international cricketer. So I think the last World Cup, their average age was the highest in the competition, and I think they'd be pretty close to it if they didn't have the youngsters like Rachin in there. So yeah, I think their experience, the fact that they've played a hell of a lot of cricket in order to just get a shot at the Black Caps team, and then when you step into that side, the pressure, whenever there's pressure from beneath, it always pushes up performance, because you've got to perform well to keep your position. So that, along with, I think they've become very comfortable with the team that they are, and the way that they play the game. So yeah, you put those two things together, you generally get a positive result.
Rob, just to follow up on that, if you look at your side, it's a very similar bunch of guys who played a lot of domestic cricket before they've got to play international cricket. Do you see similar patterns in your squad?
I think the same could be said certainly for the batting unit. Those are experienced guys that played together a lot and played a lot of international cricket. We've obviously got a couple of youngsters in the bowling department. I think they bring a great fresh energy into the environment. They've done, to be honest, exceptionally well in this campaign so far. And then that's wrapped around with some experienced heads who've played a fair bit of cricket internationally as well. So not huge dissimilarities. I think the balance of the squads look a little bit different, but from an actual experience and caps, I suppose, under the belt, probably looks fairly similar. Makes for a great game, I reckon.
Thanks, Sahir. Neil, then last one from Proteas.
Hello, Rob. I just wondered how you've been spending this. Probably going to be the only time you have 2 days off, or maybe there'll be another opportunity. But as you know, it's a long tournament, 45 days. I just wondered, we tend to forget, because we can go walking around and go to markets and go for a run, and you've got to sort of check into security and that kind of thing. So how have you been switching off, or have you just been fully invested in watching the other games and doing your research, and you can switch off after the tournament?
I've been switching off by giving my 2 sons throwdowns at the swimming pool, so certainly my shoulder hasn't switched off, but that's my off time, is just spending time with them. That said, if you love the game and if you're a cricket nuffy, then you tend to find yourself watching it most of the time anyway. So always have one eye on the cricket, one eye on what's going on, certainly knowing that there's a number of teams that have been playing that'll be our next opposition. And seeing if there's any information on ground, on venues that we're going to play at, versus as well as oppositions that we're going to play at. Certainly a strong emphasis on our players getting away for a couple of days from the game. As you said, it's not easy to go out, so potentially getting away from the game by going to see different things or leaving the hotel is and can be quite tough. However, it's fortunate that the players' partners have arrived just recently, so we've been able to connect as a larger family, and players have been able to step away from the game and spend some time with their spouses or girlfriends. So for me, that's been great to see, and great to see the sort of larger family that the Proteas are right now. And had our meetings, some of our meetings today. We'll pick it up tomorrow with our training as well. And it's not around a skill development thing right now. In where we are in the tournament, it's really about being mentally and physically fresh for battle.
Great, thanks, Neil. For those.
Thanks, Lucy. Hi, Rob. Rob, just another kind of bigger picture question. I mean, I guess we're getting to the point of the tournament where it's becoming relatively clear which teams will make the semi-finals and which teams are probably out. Did you expect England, for example, to end up in the situation? Sorry, I'm very distracted here because I'm actually at the Afghanistan game. And the situation where they are, and a team like Afghanistan to be performing the way that they have?
I don't think anyone would have expected England to be in this position, to be fair. Similar names on the sheet that won the World Cup just 4 years ago. You could potentially look at their results, specifically in the last year, and where I think their win percentage is just under 50%, excluding the World Cup, so a bit less now. And maybe that's a bit of insight into how the game's been going, but they're quality players, and yeah, as I said, I don't foresee anyone having thought that they'd be languishing at the bottom. As far as Afghanistan goes, to be dead honest, no surprise for me. Got some quality spinners in particular in their team. If you follow their progress and the way they've been playing cricket, I suppose if you're watching cricket a lot, you know what you're looking at. You know there's quality players in their team that are able to deliver match-winning performances, and they, given from where they've come, they've had to play a lot of high-pressurized environments in order to progress through the ranks to be where they are now. So, yeah, in short, no real surprise, and if they don't upset a few more teams in the last little while, as long as it's not us, of course, I wouldn't be surprised at all.